We are live. This is a very last minute video because no one remembered to schedule it. So we're here live. Don't know whether anyone will be watching live, but if you are and you manage to join us, yeah, please comment and we'll keep an eye out and share those along the way. So what are we talking about tonight, Ellie?
Well, you just introduced me, so that's that out of the way.
Oh, hi, Ellie.
Hi, Laura.
And I'm Lori. Amy's not joining us tonight, but it was her idea for the topic, so thanks, Amy. So tonight we're talking about shining a light on your birth tigers or your birth fears. So yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting topic because I think there's a lot about burying our fears when it comes to childbirth and just kind of getting over them and moving past them. But I think there's not so much about actually how you do that. And so yeah, it'll be good to talk about that together.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Well, I put birth tigers in the title because it made me think about the book Birthing from Within, and I don't know if any of you have read that, but I highly recommend it. And that has a lot of great stuff about your birth tigers being kind of your inner fears when it comes to birth. And yeah, so where should we start?
Maybe if we're calling it birth tigers, we should explain the birth tiger. We should maybe
Yeah,
go into it a little bit more.
go on then.
Do you have it to mind? Do you have it to hand?
No.
I tried to remember this for somebody recently and I completely misremembered it, so I'm not the person to ask.
So maybe we won't do that then.
Okay, maybe we'll just go into.
But I mean, the idea of the birth tigers is that a tiger is like a mammal, like any other. If they, they're solitary animals, they go off alone somewhere safe, somewhere private when they give birth. And if they were disturbed, that triggers their fight-flight response and it disrupts the birth process. But we all have our own inner birth tigers, our kind of like fantasies that we create in our own minds of things that could go wrong, and often these things come from misinformation or other people's fears or things that we have been told as children or growing up, and the things that we've been exposed to as women, and they have exactly the same effect as someone physically disrupting your birth space, don't they? So yeah, like figuring out what those things are before you're in labor is yeah, so valuable when it comes to being able to have that time and space to figure out what they are, to do any work that you can or want to do to process those kind of fears or to work on them or to create space for them. And then hopefully they won't then become a barrier that is going to trigger that fight for response when you're in labor. So what is a good place to start when it comes to figuring out what your fears are around birth?
It might not be as easy as you would think because often our fears are the things that we're trying not to think about. So at least half of the battle is figuring out what they are and being brave enough to shine a light on them and admitting them to yourself before you even start to do anything with them. So yeah, your fears are the things that you're probably trying hard not to think about. So allowing yourself to think about it. And are there any safe ways that you can think of to do that, Lori?
I think something that I've noticed that I do, and something that I guess I see women who we work with do, is that it kind of comes up for a second and there's a part of you that just buries it really, really quickly. So I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example now. I'm a little bit worried that maybe my baby will get stuck. Oh, but that's fine. That won't happen because X, Y, Z. And they're really good that's a really good way of like good moment to kind of highlight that actually that is something that you might be afraid of, and and to create space for that thought to come up rather than just trying to explain it away. um I think that's where that idea of shining a light on it comes in that if you don't allow it to come up and you don't shine a light on it, then it's just going to fester, and that fear is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. When actually it might be something that you are able to find peace with, either through finding out information. Sometimes looking at studies, looking at the evidence and statistics is helpful for some women to, yeah, I guess find peace with that and to surrender to it rather than let it overwhelm them.
I like that. And also maybe accepting the fact that you can't eradicate fear, and you probably shouldn't, because it's what's kept us safe.
Yeah.
It's a part of being human, isn't it? And the goal isn't to be fear free. And some of
Mm-hmm.
the women that I know it's not really my place to worry about anyone, but I suppose I do worry when a woman says, "Oh, I'm not afraid of anything at all,"
Mm-hmm.
because those are generally the same women who say, "Well, obviously, I know, I'm this could happen. I'm a bit worried about that, but I'm not really worried about it." That's when I see a woman just shoving it down because she feels like the goal is to be fear free, and she's not. So she's just telling herself that she is. Those are the women that worry me.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that kind of goes hand in hand with some schools of hypnobirthing, which is one of the reasons why I'm sometimes a bit skeptical of it, is that the goal seems to be about being fearless about birth and not I don't think that it doesn't always create space to acknowledge those fears. It's just kind of like repeating all of those mantras that without really acknowledging what your fears are, the positive kind of affirmations, I mean. And I think positive affirmations are great, but that also needs to be like space for the fear and for the darkness, because otherwise it grows, doesn't it?
Facebook users just made a very good point. She's very wise, this Facebook user. She watches all of our lives, and she always chimes in with just the most tiny wise stuff.
Finding a safe person to hear your fears out loud. Yeah, I think someone who won't dismiss them is, or enhance them, is so important. That if someone's going to dismiss your fears, then they're also not allowing you to have that space to talk about them and to acknowledge them. Um, but then, yeah, enhancing them as well. You don't want someone who's going to say, oh, God, yeah, that is something to be afraid of. Someone who can just listen and can just hold space for that until you've done whatever processing it is that you need to do.
And what might processing it look like? So let's say that a woman has done the bravest thing possible and allow the thoughts at the back of the mind to in the forefront of her mind, and now she's actively thinking about it. What now? What does she do with that?
Oh, there are so many things that come to mind. I think journaling is really, really powerful, pregnant or otherwise, that if you have things that you're afraid of or thoughts that feel, yeah, like they are part of that darkness, um, like let them come up through pen and paper. I find is really helpful for me to just let it come out however it needs to. And that in itself, like I find that when I do that anyway, that I'm processing as I'm writing, and that I might write for half an hour, and when I come to the other end of that, I've already done some of that work of not just acknowledging but also processing some of that. So writing things down, I think, is always really powerful. I guess in addition to writing it down, do something with it once you've written it down. So I know some women have had yeah, like burning it on a fire or with a candle, something like that, that just something physical that is about letting it go and saying like, yeah, this is my fear and this is something that I have been afraid of, but I'm letting it go now, and I'm going to surrender to birth. I'm going to surrender to a process that I do know is safe, that I do know I can get through, not just get through, but like experience and enjoy. Can you think of any others?
Thinking from a personal perspective, I find it beneficial to move at the same time. So I process while I'm walking,
Mm,
and I find that's really helpful, especially from having like difficult thoughts. It feels nice to be able to leave them behind a
yeah.
little bit and to be open to new ones. So I like walking. I also like being in the bath,
Mm.
being in water and having a little bath nap. I know that's not for everyone.
I'm laughing at the sleeping in the bath thing because that's
Just have
so
your bath
so
when
far
you're
away from possibilities.
yeah. Yeah, and maybe I don't know if this is like the super healthiest thing to do, but I know that I process stuff in the background. So doing something at the same time, crocheting is helpful because I tell myself that I'm actually just going to make a hat when actually I'm going to do some really serious thinking. But instead of just being okay, I'm going to do my thinking now. I tell myself it's about the hat making, but it's not because I do something that's quite mindless. That it's an easy thing to make so that my brain can do the important work of doing the other stuff. But I think that the one of so we've developed this service called Holding Space, and the reason that we created it really was for reasons such as this.
Yeah.
We know that before we worked together. Oh no, sorry, I'm in this very makeshift sofa situation. I've just moved house and I've got like a beanbag and like a cushion and it's noisy and I've fallen down the side. So I'm
You
sorry if
look
that's
all
just.
right. You look good.
I'm slowly falling, so it's happening by degrees. Um, I know that lots of doulas are coming from the heart, they're in the right place, but it comes down to like a couple of antenatal meetings, and you've got a lot to get through in that. And the reason that we set up the Holding Space service, which is essentially what all of our antenatals are, when we just show up, open hearts, empty hands, just how we're here, is to allow that processing. And we, as much as we love it when a woman says, right, I've got to write a birth plan, let's talk next week about birth plans. Like we love that. We love it when a woman knows what she wants and she knows what she wants of us. But we also love it when the woman's just like, look, I just need to blush. I don't know what it is, or I've really got some stuff brewing. I just need to just let it go and see what comes out. And I know that this is a safe place to do it. I know that you're not going to judge me. I know you're not going to project your own experiences onto it. I know you're not going to tell me what to do. Like, I love that. I love it. And I love it when what comes out isn't even related to pregnancy and birth because it's just what's on her mind and she's just processing. So, yeah, that. I often want to book one in with us.
Yeah, just talking. I think talking itself is just so powerful, isn't it? But I guess when you're talking to a doula or someone who offers a listening service similar to what we offer, you know that that person is going to meet you with unconditional positive regard. They're not going to judge you. And that makes it a safe space to be able to just let anything come up because you know that whatever comes up and whatever fears come out, it's going to be held. No one's going to judge you. No one's going to tell you that you're silly or that you're being ridiculous. It's just going to be met with empathy and understanding and love. And yeah, that is really powerful. And I guess that's why I think it's so good to look at these things early in your pregnancy, or if not, or if you can, like even before you're pregnant, because the more you create space for fears around birth, like the more will come up, and the more time you have to allow that to come up and allow you that time to to just give them to just honor that, I guess, honor those thoughts. And um I just love it when we talk with women who have kind of gifted themselves that time to process. They really make the effort to try and book in time with us regularly, or and it isn't because they've got a checklist of stuff to go through. It's because they just want to come to this space and let those things come up so that they can go away feeling lighter and have an empowering birth. That doesn't come about because we've empowered them, because I don't believe that we have the power to empower other women. Like she's done that for herself, which I think is just really cool. I'm resisting the urge to apologize for waffling then, but I kind of just did.
You a little bit did.
Yeah, so talking, definitely. Talking with safe people. I think I liked what you said about walking, Ellie. I know that I'm kind of really interested in how we hold things in our bodies, and like, I don't know, I've started to try and like lean into that a bit more when I'm not feeling so good, and like moving your body, being on the ground, crying, but letting yourself cry in a uninhibited way rather than like just a little tear that you wipe away. Letting your body shake if you need to shake, or like all of that stuff. I think that's also processing in a different part of your brain, isn't it? Like not in a kind of cerebral thinking way, but on a deeper level. Got another Facebook user comment. Wise Facebook user.
I love this woman. I hope I get to meet her one day.
How important do you feel it is for both partners to be involved in sharing fears?
Not just for the birth, but for the saints period, how both the lives will change.
That's a really interesting one. So something that we have always done as doulas since we started working together is to offer birth partners time to talk to us away from birthing, from their partner, from the woman who's having the baby. Because I think, oh, I don't know. I feel that's an interesting question. I think, like, as a birthing woman, I think it's good for you to share your fears with whoever you feel that you want to share them with, but I don't think that you should have to take the responsibility of anybody else's fears. So if your partner has their own fears, I don't necessarily think it's important for them to share that with you, because that's another layer of processing for you to do. And when you're pregnant, I don't know, I feel like you are, because of the fact that you're growing another human being, because of the fact that you're preparing for a transition where you are going to open up on physically, emotionally, spiritually, you are so much more vulnerable and so much more sensitive. And I think it's not always helpful for other people to discuss their fears with you. I think that when women have had those conversations, those fears start to feel like their own. And then that's just, yeah, like another layer of stuff to work through, isn't it?
I think the key word in that comment is the word involved. Should partners be sharing their fears? Yeah, absolutely. But should it be something that they're involved in together? Not necessarily. I can see how that would maybe benefit the partner, but I don't see how that would benefit the mum. It's a bit like, I think we talked about this last time, or at least I did, but without the diagram, it's really hard to describe the dumping out thing. It's a diagram of grief, and about how it's the person affected is in the middle, and then there's layers. There's the partner, and then there's the immediate family, and then there's friends, and then there's extended family, and it goes out like that. And everyone gets to dump out. No one gets to dump in.
Yeah.
And I think that's a situation like this.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the narrative around fears and worries is that kind of, yeah, I suppose presents both parents as being equal, and actually in this scenario you're not. That your needs and your emotions need to be protected in a way that nobody else's does, because it's you that's going to have the impact on it's when you're in labor, when you're giving birth, it's you and your process and your baby that it's going to impact, nobody else. So I think it's okay to be really selfish when you're pregnant, on all counts, but certainly when it comes to sharing thoughts and fears. What do you think about the last bit about? I'll put it comment back up. Yeah, not just for the birth, but the postnatal period and how everybody's lives will change. What do you think about that bit?
I think that's the conversations we had before you're pregnant.
Yeah.
This baby is going to turn our lives upside down, and I'm going to love this baby more than I love you. So what happens then? And if you go, actually, that sounds terrible, then that's a conversation to be had. If you're already pregnant, being open and honest, I think, about your expectations for the postnatal thing is good, because at that point, it's not just about you two; it's about parenting, and you absolutely. I was going to say you both need to be on the same page, but you both need to understand the page that the mum is on.
And that is the most important page. Again, I guess it goes a little bit back to what I was saying before about how it's not equal, that actually what you want for your baby and for your mothering isn't just coming from it isn't coming necessarily from just a thinking place where you're thinking, this is how I want to parent my baby. It's coming from a very deep primal place, and we're all, as women, we all feel that, and we all want to be close to our babies and to mother them in the way that feels right for us. And I think that is, to listen to that and to be able to lean into that and to be supported in that is really important for obviously for like bonding and for initial bonding and establishing breastfeeding, but just to protect that mother baby dyad, not just in the immediate postpartum, but like in the long term. It has such a big long term impact. And yeah, I guess, yeah, what you said, it's great if you're on the same page, but also if you're not, like knowing that that is okay, that that's important to you, and that is what matters. And that, I don't know, sometimes I get the sense from women that we support that if you are already pregnant and you haven't necessarily had these conversations, I guess it's a bit of a decision to be made. Do I lean into what I know me and my baby need, that I feel it deep in my bones? Do I lean into that and deal with the fallout afterwards? Because there may be fallout if you aren't on the same page. Or do I compromise and ignore that feeling? And that comes at a cost, for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting question though. But yeah, I guess in a nutshell, I don't think that anybody else's fears are yours to hold or to process or to try and deal for them. I think that's something that we hear a lot, isn't it? How do I help my partner to deal with his fear of, or her fear of, whatever it may be? And I just kind of think they are a grown up. They are capable of reading. They are capable of asking questions. They are capable of going to Google. Like, you do not have to take on that emotional labor for them. That is not your job. Sounds
I am
bit
gonna this week. I don't know how to put things in the comments. I'll just hold my hands up to that right now. But I'm going to find that diagram because I keep thinking about it so much. But if you think about it as rings, the person in the middle, in this case being the mother baby, everyone after that is just supporting that. Everyone else has to be supporting that for that to work. And the opposite of supporting it is dumping emotional labor and is saying, right, you deal with this. I'm afraid, so you deal with this. I'm unsure about this, so you deal with this. And that is not cool. Are you looking for it?
right. I was, but then I don't think I can multitask.
Okay, I don't know.
I'm just going to be completely honest and say that, well, I can't speak for you, but I am not on top form tonight. I feel awful. So yeah.
You're doing great. If you Google, if anyone watching or yourself Googles grief diagram dump out, it will for sure come up.
We'll find it afterwards and put it in the
We'll find
comments.
it.
What else can you think of when it comes to?
So we've covered fearlessness and why that isn't necessarily something to aspire to. We've covered how to acknowledge your fears and what your fears might be, and that the fears are the things that are unacknowledged at the back of your mind. And then we've covered ways to process. I guess where we could go would be what to do. Yeah, what to do with that information. Like you said, you can look for information and there's things that you can do about that to help you address your fears. But what if there isn't anything you can do because it's just a question mark? You've asked around, you've Googled, you've gone to healthcare professionals, you've dived into your own past, and there just is no reason. Maybe it's a previous birth that didn't go to plan and you don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you can't get a solid answer on which to move forwards with?
Yeah, that's really. And I think that is often the case because, especially when you're looking to evidence to calm your fears, it's never definitive, is it? There's never evidence that says 100% this is safe or 100% this is risky. So I think that's probably going to be the case for most people when it comes to their fears. I would say remind yourself that you can hold both things. You can say, you can acknowledge it and say, yes, I'm afraid of this thing, but I also believe in birth and I also believe in my body. And I think affirmations are really great when they are the right ones. And I think fears are a really great tool for writing affirmations that are personalized to you. I know you always give the example of like taking the thing that's your fear and then like flipping that around into an affirmation. So yeah, I guess an example, I'm worried that my baby's going to be too big and isn't going to fit out of me. Flip that around to be my baby is going to be the perfect size and it's going to emerge easily, or whatever it may be, whatever words feel right for you. That's something that you always suggest to women that I think is a great idea.
Do you know what? Listening to those affirmations will tell you where your fears are.
The ones that make you go, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe for other women, but not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that will your reactions listening to them will
Mm-hmm.
tell you, even if it's not something you feel like you can think of, your body will tell you when you hear them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what that if it's okay for other women, but it's not right for me, I think it's really telling, isn't it? Especially when that thing that is right for other women is something that is when we're talking about biological norms, when we're talking about physiological birth. If you are a healthy woman having a healthy baby, then there's no reason why that isn't also okay for you. And so, yeah, that is a good way to kind of highlight where your tigers might be lurking.
I'm gonna go there.
Go there.
I'm gonna go to the biggest tiger of all. What if my baby dies? I think this is the overriding tiger of all women. Understandably, once we're pregnant, we're programmed to look after that little critter, like no matter what. And the fear
Yeah.
of our baby dying rules us consciously or unconsciously and leads us to do things that consciously, unconsciously, we don't want to do. But we're told that we must because.
And I think that is an interesting fear because I don't think it ever comes up in that way. I think it is,
Exactly.
I'm going to have a midwife just in case, or I'm going to be in hospital just in case, or I'm going to call the midwife early just in case. But the thing that comes after just in case doesn't come up, does it? Like, it's never voiced. And the just in case is what if my baby dies? What if that is your fear.
I mean, I think that's everyone's fear.
Yeah, well, yeah. Again, I think that's why it's really powerful to be thinking about this as early as possible, because I there is no life without death, and babies do die, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything wrong or that you made bad choices or yeah, you made a mistake. That does happen sometimes, and I think that we need to hold space for that, um and yeah, to think about what would I do and how would I feel, and like yeah.
And what lengths would I go to prevent that? Because it's okay to have a point at which you it's okay to not do anything to move heaven and earth and put yourself through hell so that your baby lives. This is not something that is talked about because it's what's expected of us. You watch any TV show and the mum in the hospital will be saying, just save my baby. It's okay for that
Yeah.
not to be you. It's okay to think, I wouldn't want to put my baby through those extreme life saving measures. It's okay to think, I wouldn't put myself through that. I wouldn't reduce my quality of life to
Mm,
afford my baby a life at any cost. It's okay to do that.
yeah. Yeah, this was something that came up in the last free birth group that we had. Um, this, like, yeah, if we were talking about, like, if you are fully leaning into birthing in your own power and unassisted and free birthing and while pregnancy, like, how much of being okay doing that comes from being okay with the possibility of death. And yeah, I guess there's an expectation, isn't there, from society that because we have the medical advances to intervene and save life at all costs, that we should say yes to that. But I think, yeah, what you just said, that is an individual choice, and it is okay to not want a kind of to say yes to everything. Um, yeah, I think that's really. I think it's a really important part of your antenatal processing, because as soon as you, like the women who we have supported, who have said, who have had really hard lines when it comes to life-saving intervention, that I will only accept this if these conditions are in place, and if they're not, then I'm not accepting it. I have Once those women have got to that point in their like planning and preparation, you have, I think there's like a weight that's lifted, isn't there, that you can see
Yeah.
that she has found peace in preparing for birth, and because she's really gone there and really thought about what she would want in different scenarios. And that's not to say that that wouldn't change in the moment, that you're not you're not beholden to plans that you make but in pregnancy for your birth. But having thought about that, um yeah, I guess it made space for all of the other good stuff to come in, because that had been thought about and yeah, not dealt with. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
But I think once that peace does descend, it does feel like it's dealt with because
Mm-hmm.
when you allow someone else to be the gatekeeper of of your birth because they hold the keys to safety,
Mm-hmm.
then you can have your home birth, you can have your birth plan. But ultimately, if you've given somebody else the power to decide what's safe, can you just pipe down? Between what's safe and what's risky, and in terms of what will save your baby, and assuming that you will go to any length, then that really opens up a whole Pandora's box of what ifs. But the women that I know of, that I've met, that I've worked with, that have already decided where their line is in the sand, are the gatekeepers of that. They know. Let's say they've decided that they would only go to hospital from this many weeks gestation. They know that it's like you said, you're not beholden to it. But if a woman has decided that, let's say if I went into labour before 30 weeks, I would still stay home. You would expect, society would expect, that that woman is on edge, thinking, "Oh my god, what if I give birth before 30 weeks?" But that's not what I see. I see women who know where they will have their baby, and know that we'll have their baby on their terms, no matter what. And there's a peace that comes from that, and not a despair. And
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing but admiration for those women who draw their own lines in the sand, no matter what they are. I'm all for women deciding that, and it's okay if a woman decides that she would go to hospital from 5 weeks onwards or 55 weeks. What I
Yeah.
care about is women drawing their own lines and not letting themselves be herded into something based on someone else's expectations, or someone else's reality, or someone else's priorities. So whatever that woman draws for herself, I have nothing but respect for. It's just important to me that that woman draws it for herself. It's just that women aren't given the freedom or permission to do that. They're just living up from expectation to expectation.
Yeah, definitely. Another comment. Walking a veil between worlds. That's so true.
Makes people shit themselves, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
I
you're probably going to say something more profound than that.
think, but like if you when you put it in that perspective that when we're growing a new life and preparing to birth one, that we are walking a veil between worlds. I think that really like sums up how big it is and how it's okay to be scared, to have fears, because what you're doing is huge. And to think that you can walk that without having any fears coming up at any point, I think you're kidding yourself. What would you say to women who are ready to really acknowledge their fears and the ultimate fear, I guess, um, for how to, I guess, how to work through that? Do you think it's the same?
The same as what?
The same as the stuff that we spoke about before, writing things down, walking, talking.
If they've acknowledged the ultimate fear.
If they're, um, lost my train of thought.
I've lost your train of thought as well, I'm afraid.
If so, you are a woman who has acknowledged that your fear is that your baby's going to die. What do you do with that? Is it the same as if you have a fear that I don't know that your baby's going to that you're going to have shoulder dystocia?
Is it the same? Yeah, I think it is, because for me, it always comes to working backwards. So if I've acknowledged that my biggest fear is my baby dying, then okay, what happens if what do I do if that happens? How do I want to be treated? What treatment will I accept under what circumstances? What treatment will I not accept under any circumstances? What's going to make that more likely, and what's going to make that less likely? What do I do if the worst happens, and how do I do my best to prevent that? What lengths would I go to stop it? What lengths do I go to support my own sanity and well-being during that?
Yeah, I love that. And it's okay if it's hard. It's okay if you don't know straight away. It's okay if you need time to sit with it and figure it out, and that one day you feel one thing and the next you feel differently, and you're kind of, yeah, going from one thing to another. Like, that's okay. That is part of the processing, isn't it?
Yeah, that is processing, and processing as well. We live in a very well, we live in the patriarchy where everything goes from A to B and just trundles on until, resolution. And we're not like that as women. We're cyclical. So like all the things that you described before, the journaling and you write something down and then you burn it. That's not to say that you won't need to do the same thing tomorrow or next week or next month. And that doesn't mean that it's not working. That means that you are moving forward. Just because you get back to the same point again doesn't mean it's the same point. If you're looking at it in a linear way and you've started here, oh, the mirror thing on the camera. If you started here and you move to here, if that same fear comes up again, it looks like you move back to here, and that just isn't the case. If you look at it as a spiral, you figured something out here and then you get back to here. And it's not the same point at all. It's maybe a similar fear, maybe it's the same fear, but you're a different person and you're looking at it from a different perspective. You've found a deeper layer of it. It's not the same. You haven't gone backwards, you're moving forwards, and that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Something that we, I suppose, touched on a little bit from the question before. How do you separate your fears from other people's fears?
Still trying to figure that one out, but I feel like you've got something more to say.
That's why I asked you.
Oh no. How do you separate others? I guess I like to try and think of where it came from. And just because somebody said it to you doesn't mean that it's their fear. I think someone can say their fear to you, and then it's like, yeah, actually that's mine all along, and you've put voice to it. You've helped me to express my own fear. But then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is just, but sometimes somebody does just give you a fear, and it's not yours, but it feels like it's yours. I'm not quite sure how to distinguish. Surely a more mindful person would say
Wise
meditation
Facebook
would help.
user has
I knew Facebook user would come through on this.
work out how much shame is attached. That is, yeah, I think that's great.
Because if there's shame attached, then do you think that comes from yourself? Because when somebody else tells you something, it doesn't chime quite so much as when it really resonates and when it really hurts.
Yeah.
When you feel it really deeply. If somebody said something that didn't chime with me at all, it would just be like water off a duck's back. But if it really got me, it would be like, yeah, that actually I carry that too. Maybe you carry it and I carry it, but yeah, I carry it as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think figuring out what fears are yours and which fears belong to other people is, it really makes a difference on how you reflect back on your birth and the decisions that you made, because you spoke about our holding space sessions before and how really we wanted to be able to hold space for women to do the preparation beforehand. But actually what they've become for a lot of women has been processing births that haven't gone to plan and processing trauma as a result. And what I hear coming up is, for so many women, is I did this thing because I was afraid of this happening. But actually now I look back, I know that I knew that everything was okay. And that is the thing that is really hard for women to make sense of afterwards. Like, I knew everything was okay, so why did I do that thing? And if I'd just not done it, then I would feel differently now. And so yeah, I think like separating that out beforehand means that when you're in labor, when you're giving birth and you are faced with decisions, you know that they're coming from what you're deciding is your decision is built on just you and your thoughts and feelings rather than everyone else's in the pot. Does that make sense?
You lost me a little bit, but that's because I was thinking about something else that was on me. I was not holding space for that. I was thinking about. I'll tell you what I was thinking about, unless you are still ruminating on that.
No, it's fine.
So you know how we said that sometimes your fears are the things that just kind of crop up. They just kind of come up and they flash and then they go back down again. And it tends to be the same thing. So maybe the fear of your baby getting stuck, it comes up, it goes back down, but it does come up again. I think that we hear that a lot with like wishes and preferences as well, and they get shoved down as well. So we often hear women who are planning a complicated birth. They're planning a complicated birth, and then every now and then to say, "Oh, but I'd just love to give birth by myself. I can just see myself just going to my bathroom and just have my baby by myself." But then it goes back down, and it comes back up again, just for a flash, and goes back down. And I think that our deepest fears and our deepest hopes have a pattern of doing that. That's where that's where the truth lies, in those things that do not go away. And you can stamp them down with facts and figures and oh yeah and compromises and oh well my partner wants this and oh what's really best is this thing, but you know what your fears are and you know what your hopes are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm sorry I didn't think about your thing when you were saying that.
It's all right. Do you have anything else to share about fears and yeah? Actually, I do. I think yeah, preparation is about shining light on your own fears, but also thinking about what fears other people are going to be bringing with them into your birth space. I feel like I say this in every single one of the videos that we do, but and a lot of the posts that I write. But really think about who is going to be in your birth space and what fears, not necessarily what fears they're going to have, but are they going to have fears and what are they going to do with them? Because if they're going to just be there and projecting them on you, are they a good person to have there? I think it's like yeah, such an important question to ask yourself. Because a lot of, I say a lot, I think pretty much all people working in maternity services, certainly within the NHS, carry a whole heap of fears. Fears about, and they're not necessarily fears about you and your baby, but those like what ifs and the impact that that's going to have on their profession, not just on you and your baby. So I think it's really important to think about that when you're considering where to have your baby and who is going to be there and in what capacity and what their role is going to be. What would you say, I guess, like on that note, doulas also have their own fears. So what do you do with your fears when you're going to a birth?
I process it with you and Amy, really.
Yeah.
Because it's not my place to dump that on the woman. It's no one's place to dump that on the woman. It doesn't matter if you've been paid to do a role or not. It's not your place to do that to a woman. It doesn't matter if you're a best friend, doesn't matter if you're a partner, it doesn't matter if you're a neighbour. It's not your place.
And how
So
many
do what
posts
you
do you
need
read
to
on
do.
like Facebook groups of women saying, my doula or my midwife won't support me past this point, or they won't support me to have a free birth, or they won't support me if I don't do X, Y, Z. That is them putting their fears on you.
Yeah.
And that, I guess that's why we don't work alone, because I think it's a lot to hold for one person without someone to share that with, and without the opportunity to debrief before and after. So, like you said, we have a lot of conversations, don't we, where we might share our fears and thoughts about a woman's journey and processing and what her birth might look like, so that when we go to her birth, we are there completely present and we're not worrying about all of those what ifs, because we've thought about them and we've processed them however we need to, so that when we are with you, we are just with you wherever you are. Facebook user has some more wise words. Are you reading them?
No. That's beautiful. Yeah, following that. Yeah, your tears are saying something to you, saying things to other people if you want them to. That's a form of processing. It's a completely valid form of processing. It might happen in the run up, it might happen during. And just like what happens if we just dampen it down because we don't think we should be crying, or we don't think it's appropriate to be crying, or we don't think it's okay to be crying the way that we are crying. That's just shoving stuff down. And when you can just cry, and even if you don't know why and you just are, then that's cool. Go with it. That's awesome. Lean into it. Cry with other people, with other safe people if you want, and cry with us. So many of our holding spaces start with a woman crying, and she's apologizing and she doesn't know why she's even crying, and we just see that as a really good sign. It means that she's ready to go there. She's aware that she is that veil. She is letting go of the control that she tries so hard to maintain all of the times, because. And for that moment, she's letting her guard down and she's letting her innermost thoughts and fears and hopes come to the surface. And we love those women, and you are warriors.
Yeah, and sometimes women, they've done all of the reading and they've read all the statistics, and on a thinking level, they know that on a thinking level, they can rationalize that fear, but it's not until it is processed on a physical and an emotional level that it's able to really be processed. I think it's a collection of those things, isn't it? It's not just one or the other. So yeah, I love that. We are coming up to almost an hour.
Oh my god, under an hour. If we managed to do one that's under an hour.
We have, and I do feel like there's probably loads more to say on this, but I'm gonna accept my limits, and I don't think I've got much more to give tonight. Did you have any last words? Last words. That sounds really ominous. I did an Ellie. Any last thoughts on this topic?
No, just that if you want to share those things with us, we would not only be open to that, but that is what we're here for. That is why we do what we do, and it's an absolute honor and an absolute gift, no matter how complex or deep or shameful or terrifying your thoughts are. You will not scare us off. You will not disgust us. You will not. We will just love you. And we don't talk about love in the birth world enough. We don't talk about how that's what it is. It's love. And about how we have bucket loads and bucket loads of it. So there you go. You didn't ask for coherent thoughts. You just got some.
Maybe that's a good next topic.
Love in the birth world. Love as a birth worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think more on that. We will be back again, I think, on Thursday. Yes?
Yeah, I don't think we've got a guest scheduled in.
Maybe with a guest, maybe with a surprise topic. Who knows? You'll have to join us to find out. That sounded so cheesy.
I will. I'm dying to know. It might be at 8 though, if it's just if you're waiting for me.
It might be as early as 7:30. But we will try and schedule it in advance. So, you know, as soon as we know, you'll know.
Do you want to just explain quickly how someone can book in a holding space with us?
Yeah, message us on Facebook or email us hello@greatermanchesterdealers.com. Yeah, and we will let you know our availability. We have 1 hour slots and hour and a half slots throughout the week. And more slots as of next week because my children will be back in school, which is a little bit exciting. So yeah.
A little bit. I'm very excited. So far, for the last few weeks, we've been having one day together every 2 weeks, and that is not enough.
No, 4 working days out of in a 2-week period is not very much. So yeah, I'm excited to have more time to support women. So yeah, email us. You can message us on Instagram, but we often don't see them, and it's a delay to reply.
You can't
so
really message us. You can message Lori through Instagram because she's the only one who knows how to deal with that.
yeah. So, and that at the moment they're all happening over Zoom, but yeah, it still works good, doesn't it? Still good. Well,
it does work good.
It does work good. I'm gonna go to bed now, but it's been great. We do still have some funding, so do not hesitate to get in touch if you are worried about finances being a barrier. We do still have funding available, so yeah, we'd love to hear from you. We're back on Thursday.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, especially to Facebook user.
Yeah, thanks, Facebook user. There's probably more than one.
I know, but I like to imagine it's just one.
All
right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.